Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Maulana Maududi's opinion. The identification of Zulkarnain has been a controversial matter from the earliest times. In general, the commentators have been of the opinion that he was Alexander the Great, but the characteristics of Zulkarnain described in the Quran are not applicable to him. However, now the commentators are inclined to believe that Zulkarnain was Cyrus, an ancient king of Iran. We are also of the opinion that probably Zulkarnain was Cyrus, but the historical facts which have come to light up to this time are not sufficient to make any categorical assertion. Now let us consider the characteristics of Zulkarnain in the light of his story as given in the Quran. Number one, the title Zulkarnain. The two horn should have been quite familiar to the Jews, for it was at their instigation that the disbelievers of Makkah put this question to the Holy Prophet. Therefore, we must turn to the Jewish literature in order to learn who was the person known as the two horn, or which was the kingdom known as the two horn. Number two, Zulkarnain must have been a great ruler and great conqueror whose conquest might have spread from the east to the west and on the third side of the north or to the south. Before the revelation of the Quran, there had been several persons who were such great conquerors. So we must confine our research for the other characteristics of Zulkarnain to one of these persons. Number three, this title should be applicable to such a ruler who might have constructed a strong wall across a mountain pass to protect his kingdom from the incursions of Gog and Magog. In order to investigate this thing, we will have to determine as to who were Gog and Magog. We will also have to find out when such a wall was built and by whom and to which territory it was adjacent. Number four, besides possessing the above mentioned characteristics, he should also be a God worshipper and a just ruler, for the Quran has brought into prominence these characteristics more than anything else. The first of these characteristics is easily applicable to Cyrus, for according to the Bible, prophet Daniel saw in his vision that the united kingdom of Media and Persia was like a two-horned ram before the rise of the Greeks. Daniel 8, 3-20. The Jews had a very high opinion of the two-horned one because it was his invasion which brought about the downfall of the kingdom of Babylon and the liberation of the Israelites. The second characteristic is applicable to him to a great extent but not completely. Though his conquest spread to Syria and Asia Minor in the west and to Balakh in the east, there is no trace of any of his great expeditions to the north or to the south, where the Quran makes an explicit mention of his third expedition. Nevertheless, this third expedition is not wholly out of question, for history tells us that his kingdom extends to the Caucasia in the north. As regards Gog and Magog, it has been nearly established that they were the wild tribes of Central Asia who were known by different names: Tatars, Mongols, Hund, and Scythians, who had been making inroads on settled kingdoms and empires from very ancient times. It's also known that strong bulwarks had been built in southern regions of Caucasia, though it has not been as yet historically established that these were built by Cyrus. As regards the last characteristic, Cyrus is the only known conqueror among the ancient rulers to whom this may be applicable, for even his enemies have been full of praise for him for his justice. And Ezra, a book of the Bible, asserts that he was a God worshipper and God fearing king who set free the Israelites because of his God worship, and ordered that the temple of Solomon should be rebuilt for the worship of Allah, who has no partner. In the light of the above, we admit that of all the conquerors who had passed away before the revelation of the Quran, Cyrus alone is the one to whom the characteristics of Zulkarnain are most applicable, but we need more evidence to determine specifically that Cyrus is definitely Zulkarnain. Anyhow, there is no other conqueror to whom the characteristics stated in the Quran are as much applicable as to Cyrus. Historically, it is enough to say that Cyrus was a Persian ruler whose rise began about 549 BC. In a few years, he conquered the kingdom of Media and Lydia, and afterwards conquered both Babylon in 539 BC. After this, no powerful kingdom was left to oppose him. His conquest extends to Sin and the territory known as Turkestan on one side, and to Egypt and Libya, and to Thrace and Macedonia, and to Caucasia and Khwarezm in the north. In fact, the whole civilized world was under his way. This is a map showing the passage on which he traveled to different areas or regions, and the area on which he ruled. After Babylon, the Persian Empire ruled the world during the 6th century BC.